Barefoot Bruisers, I'm Sawtooth Dave. It's a rebladed kickstand I did a while back. All right, a roller coaster of a week. This is going to be definitely some sitting and bullshitting today. Some really highs and really bad lows this week. So I'm going to kind of go through it. To start from last week, like, you know, I mentioned that I kind of went from a, collector, enthusiast, modder, learning some skills and stuff like that, to more into the making side of things. And it does change your perspective a lot. Like, I've seen it happen a bunch. This is, obviously my first time experiencing it. And like, it's different going through it than it is seeing it through someone else's eyes, if that makes sense. So the getting back in and doing some trades with you guys and having a little communication. And I thought it was going to be a fun little giveaway for like, anybody that basically wanted a free knife. I realize most of the people that watch my channel aren't necessarily into budget knives because I'm completely opposite, polar opposite, but it's not always true. Because like, I'm just going to take Brother Ken, because Brother Ken goes to the higher end and to the lower end. And I think a lot of people do that stuff. I'm very particular, that CKF that I traded, it wasn't a bad knife. It just wasn't a mean knife. And then there's some knives kind of, agree with you and some guys don't. But anyway, let's go back to the giveaway for a second. So other than the people that I actually did deals with, because I ended up trading Big Jim. I'll go over that in a second. And then I ended up gifting the 80. But we got one more kind of sort of giveaway to do. What is this thing called? Let me see. Molsec. There's the box. It's imported knife. I'm assuming it's Chinese. I don't know that it even says it on it or doesn't say it on it. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Anyway, J Dizzle on Instagram gave me this to give away. Does it say China on it? I'm trying to look. I think it says 14C28 on it, but even with my glasses, I'm having a hard time reading that one. But anyhow, it's a little budget liner lock, chuck in the toolbox kind of thing for me at least. But it's a good size knife, so it's still like, it's not the thickness, but it's definitely the length that I like in my stuff. Like, once you get that knife, I just had it back out. Well, it's not that much smaller. It's smaller. Well, it is pretty good smaller. I'm like, it's not that much. Yeah. That's the whole thing about the whole knife thing. You can convince yourself and find other people that think like you to convince yourself that whatever you're doing is right, no matter what it is, right? Heat treat, sharpening edges, thickness of knives, lightness of knives, size of knives, like anywhere you want to go, you can convince yourself that what you're doing is the righteous path, right? It's just one of those things. I don't know. I always find the humor in it. But anyway, the giveaway knife, as I'm trying to ramble through this whole thing, basically, when it come down to the end, I got an offer of 2 dirty socks that didn't match. Thank you, Marco. Appreciate that, bro. I'm gonna call you on it if you win, though. Not really. Don't send me your socks. G-Man. And also First, which I don't know. Sorry, bro. I don't know your first name. I just know him as First on Instagram. But anyway, there's only 3 of y'all. 6-sided dice. In the order I just named. So it'd be First is 3 and 6. G-Man is 2 and 5. What was the last one I just mentioned? Damn, my mind is not there. Who was the first one I just mentioned? I'll go back and watch it. I'm sorry, I forgot already. Mine's not right. Anyway, I rolled it. It's 1. So who did I mention first? Jeez Louise. Oh, Marco. I'm sorry, Marco. You can tell mentally I'm not there. Marco, you won with your 2 dirty socks. Don't send me your dirty socks, but I will send you your knife. I believe, pretty sure you won a giveaway before, but if not, I need your information to send it to. It comes with all this stuff, and you know how I do. So just give me your information. I'll make sure it gets to you. I think the last time I sent to somebody who sent to you, or I can't remember. You know my Instagram. Just hit me back up. You win a knife. All right, giveaway done. But there's only 3 people in it, so obviously the giveaway things like that I used to do ain't as popular as it used to be. So probably won't see another one of those for a while. To the trade. I know, 4 minutes in and we ain't talked about nothing yet, have we? It's probably gonna be a long one, y'all. All right. I had mentioned that I wanted something American made for that CKF. I was thinking that I was gonna trade the CKF and the AD for one, about this range. And Big Jim hit me up, said, that's 1-to-1, bro. We can do that 1-to-1. So This is the exact version of the Dixon that I was hoping to get, and lo and behold, it came right to me. I left the box inside, but it's signed by Jonathan too, which I thought was cool. And I think he said he got it at, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, but I'm pretty sure he said he got it at Blade Show, which would make sense why it's signed. I'm assuming the one in Atlanta, not the one that just happened. And I seen that Ken had just got one of the Dixons too, so I'm kind of in the whole. I literally just came in last night, and like we worked late last night, so I've messed with it a whole 5 minutes. So I'm not going to give you any opinion of it other than it's way more the size that I like. But like all productions knives that have these kind of humps that kind of want to lock your fingers in, generally speaking, I'm just going to go to this forward hump, and you can kind of sort of, let's see if I hold my hand, I can get that first, or this finger and this finger kind of on that groove. And then when I put this one down, there's like a little hump right there. My pinky sits on, and then my front finger barely fits on. So it's one of those, like, you can just kind of see it. It's not really it don't fit my hand size that well. That's just first impressions. Like, but I like the knife. I like it better than the CKF, even though the CKF in that choked up position probably fit better in my hand than this one did. This one feels like more like a kind of knife that I like better. We'll see. I'm probably not going to carry it and use it that much, because what I'm thinking right now is it might turn into another trade, right? I had an inclination to get another Nkosi or Zahn and do one for myself. And that was a week ago. When I got through talking about, well, we might as well talk about it now. Anyway, what I was going to, let me finish my train of thought, because I was going to try to do it like chronologically, but there's no point. I really was thinking I'd like to do a reblade in the K390, which I still may do. But I did JD's, and it's still sitting here ready to be ground. Like, you'll understand why here in a minute. Let's just get to it, I guess. Like, just rip the cord off. Chris had bought that one back a while for me, and he paid premium money for it. And I mentioned to it, I think even when it was sold, it had a slight bit of, like a little bit of lash, but I couldn't, at that point, I couldn't discern if it was the lock bar moving, because every time you'd move, move the blade, you can see that, maybe you can see that lock bar moving or not. I don't know. Maybe you can't. But the lock bar, especially on CRKs, likes to walk more than any other knife that I've modded and worked on. I still don't have that figured out. 100%. I try something slightly different every time. I'm not really getting any good results that I like. But like I said, Chris paid good money for this. And so he was even unsure whether to mention it to me or not. And he finally showed me a video. I said, just show me a video, show me what it's doing. And then I looked at it, and I was like, it looked like it had more lash than when it get to him. So I believe what had happened, because this is a hardened, lock bar insert on these. I believe what happened was I drilled it a little bit too big, and the detent ball was actually pushing back in the insert, because I installed them to a certain height, and it was under that height. So that's the only thing I can assume was it got pushed back in, which shouldn't happen regardless of how you do it. So something I did was wrong. It could have been the hole was oblonged or oval out or whatever. Who knows? There's so many variables that I didn't check on that one when I did it. And so it had lash. So he sent it back, and I got it. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to solve this by doing an extra detent, to hold that position closed a little bit. And we'll do a dual detent thing. So I went ahead and drilled it. And I don't know if you can, I'm trying to get it where you see that little pin I got in there. I drilled it for the dual detent and tried that. I put it on the rotary to drill the blade portion of it. I was going to try to dial it into exact, I was taking a measurement from the pivot hole to that. So I was trying to do it exactly how I wanted it. I want to kind of sort of rotate that hole in to get just the right detent that I wanted. I was really trying to dial in, and I had a good theory in my head that worked in my head. And then I put it on the rotary, and the rotary slipped. And I don't know if you can see back up in here or not. It's all scarred up and everything. I tried to fix it, but it didn't work. It got worse. It made everything worse. So instead of trying to fix it and make something out of this, I just want to start over. Like, it's not something I want my name associated with. This could be a cool knife, but I screwed it up. Well, honestly, I screwed it up. And I was really, like most of the stuff I work on is mine until I sell it, kind of thing. Like, I don't like when people own their knives that I'm working on, kind of thing. It's a pressure I got to learn to deal with, like warranty work or whatever you want to call it, or making shit right or whatever. But like, generally speaking, like the regrinds were something it was the same kind of thing at first when I got through doing regrinds. I was like, if I get nervous about shit, I'm going to mess it up. It's just, so it was the same thing. Like I had them nerves in my system. Like I don't want to mess this up. And then I screwed it up. It's something I got to get past personally, right? Like it's just one of those, you know what you're doing. The thing that screwed me up. So anyway, long story short, I bought the knife back from Chris. We talked on the phone. Actually, just right before I did this video, I talked to him on the phone, and we're on the same page. Like it's not like there's hard feelings either way. Like I'm mad that I messed the knife up and it was his, and then I had to call him and say, hey, I need to offer your money back. I'm not mad at all that I had to give him his money back, because that to me is the right thing to do. Like I couldn't fix it, so I should buy it back. And that he totally understood that. So this knife's gonna sit here for a minute. When I feel like I'm up to it, I'm gonna go ahead and reblade it again, and he gets first offer back at it. Hopefully it'll be as cool as this one, but I might even change some stuff on it and do something a little different, because now it's another opportunity to do something, and instead of repeating the same thing, I might do something fun with it. But we shall see. I have no plans. I'm doing it right away because I want to get through at least these first 6 origins, and then kind of sort of try to get more professional and reassess like how everything I'm doing is working, and then what I can improve on, that sort of thing. Because these are the very beginnings of the knives that I hope to escalate into a higher level. And right now, the level I'm at is kind of sort of like, for me personally, I'm self-critical. Like it's an acceptable level. It's just not that excellent level. Like I want to be on the excellent level, and the knives I want to build on that excellent level. Like I think as a collector, especially like I'm pretty fine-tuned with the collection. Like I know I like big heavy frame locks, full titanium. If it's not that, I know I'm not going to be happy. Like so that's pretty fine-tuned for most people. They're way more broad than I am. Like I've liked some liner locks, but like none of them stay. None of them. Like they don't know how cool they are, who gave them to me or anything. None of them stay. They just don't. They don't do nothing for me after a while. Like I just lose interest in them. So like I'm so fine-tuned where I got to that level. And then I take those that made to that level and then compare these grinds versus those grinds, this detent versus that detent, this operating system, this construction, and I try to funnel it all. I'm trying to funnel all that into like one thing. Sometimes it gets muddy in my brain. Also in this process, for advice, I need to thank both Todd and Donnie for like at least acknowledging and trying to help the best they can in this problem that I had. So let me back up 1 second. I showed you the profiles, and I think I sort of showed you like some of the scale things. Both these knives are at a point where they could be done, or they're close enough to be done. Like Steve's still need finishing. Tomas's is pretty much there. I just need to do a couple little touches here. So the O2 and the O3 are really close. The problem that I had was, I know Steve wanted a thicker grind so he could pry with his knife a little bit more. And honestly, like when I envisioned the grind for the knife, I started doing it like the first grind that I put on it was like a flat, and it wasn't going to where I wanted it to go. Like I wanted the grinds to go a certain direction visually. Like I knew what I wanted to do with it, and I should have stopped there, and I should have said, okay, let's reassess it. Let's do what Steve wants and make him a stout tip. Instead, I pressed on and did what I wanted to do, and the grinds came out exactly pretty much what I had envisioned for it. But it's not really the knife that Steve wanted. You know what I mean? So like, so that was I actually started with the third one, which was Steve's, because of I want to say a simplicity, because it wasn't a simple grind, but comfortable. I was more comfortable with that grind, put it that way. And I knew it was going to take a little bit more of the challenge to sweep it. And I'll show you the grind here in a second, explain all this stuff. But I just want to kind of talk about it first. So I ground Tomas's, and I literally showed him a picture of it ground, and he was like, "Hey, do you think you can do a tip like the Old Dominions, where it kind of gets fatter at the tip, and then it slims down as it goes?" And I'm like, "Man, if I'd have asked you before I ground it, yeah, I could have done that, but no, not now. Like I've already ground it, and it's probably thinner than what you want too." So in both regards, I kind of failed with just initially asking the customer what they want, or in Steve's case, I knew he wanted to pry, and I thought I should have stopped when I achieved what he wanted, and then reassess what I wanted to do on top of that. Like it's just, cart before the horse. That's what that was. It's cart before the horse. Like, if I'd have had the whole knife ground and then he could have seen it and went, yeah, that's what I want. But, you know, Steve's so cool. He's just like, whatever, I don't care. And same with Tomas. He's like, yeah, it's cool, whatever, I don't care. It's just something I need to work on personally. Like, it's a part of that becoming the maker, not the collector kind of thing. The other problem that I had, I think before he even mentioned he wanted the Grands, Tomas, maybe in that same conversation, I can't remember for sure, he had mentioned that he wants a good stout detent. If you remember back, was that a tier reblade? I think it was a tier reblade that I had sold, I believe it's to Josh. And then Josh had a hard time with the detent because, like, we all have different hand strength. We all, like, actuate things different. Sometimes you put your thumb on lock bars and it's lock bar sensitive and that sort of thing. But he didn't like the way it felt, so he sent it back. And I bought it back from him, and then Tomas got it, and Tomas was like, this is perfect. I like it. So, like, obviously how me and Tomas held that knife was different than the way Josh was. And Tomas liked that feel better. So that's what he's like, hey, man, I want another stout one like that. I'm like, all right, cool. At least that's what I interpreted by him saying that. So, normally I set the detents before heat treat, and this time I try to do it post heat treat, which is more like when I was talking to Todd. This is like his order of operations. It's not mine. Like, I'm not saying I couldn't adapt and try to do it his way, but it didn't make sense mentally. I wasn't prepared for it, and it didn't make sense to do it this way for me because I've all this time, and it's like, I think Todd says it's the second to last thing he does is really dial that detent in, and for me, like, that's way too far down the road. I need to, you know, go way back and do all that in my order of operations to make it make sense for how I'm building it. We all got to find our methods, right? And I may try it Todd's way one time. If y'all don't know, he uses that. Well, Hoback calls it the Hoback rule and detent, but you can go buy the parts in MSC instead of the 3 times the price that Jake sells them for. But we all know that, you know, Jake ain't exactly the most honest guy out there anyhow, because, well, I just knocked my light out. Oh, well, who cares? I literally touched the cable and it went out. Anywho, let's not talk crap about Jake. It's not about, I want to try to keep it positive. Sorry that the light went out, but literally I can just shake the cable and see if it'll go on again. Oh, there it goes. All right, back on again. The ring light's going out, guys. That's all I can do. I don't know. Does it look better before? I don't know. Anyhow, back to the subject at hand. He wanted a stout detent. So this is Steve's knife, not Tomas's, because I fixed Tomas's to an acceptable level at this point. Just not what I originally wanted to do. So I went one step further. This is Steve's number, the 03, and this is the ones that had the corner round. We're going to do it just this kind of bronze finish kind of thing that come out of it's more or less like blasted and then through the oven. I was going to leave it like this, but after seeing Tomas's, and y'all will get that in a second, that I think I'm going to try to talk Steve into doing that finish instead. But anywho, I hadn't got there that far. I'm just going to pull it out so you can see. Like, so the detent now, I might give you it upside down even. You get to a certain point and it sucks at trying to do it as light as possible. Hopefully you can see that. I'm barely touching it and just sucks it right back in. So I got the good closing snap that I like. Really like that feel of that thing. Problem is, so in this one I can finger flick it. And same with the way that I had done Tomas's. But with the thumb, nothing. Then I'm hoping you can see how hard I'm doing it. Like, mashing in my thumb there. Like, it ain't going with the thumb. So it's all the way in the blade. And it's, you know, generally speaking, when I do my detents, let me see if I can show you on this one. I don't know. You may or may not be able to see it on this one. So let's turn it up so you can see the lock bar. Lock bar's up here. You're not going to be able to see it. There's a little air in there. I could do it with it. Maybe I can do it with a light. Let's see if this makes sense. Yeah, okay. Maybe this will work. You see there's a little light in between the lock bars. See how the lock bar is not quite all the way down? Hopefully you see that. There it goes. You see that detent ball is still proud of the lock bar itself. So the ball doesn't seat all the way into the blade. It's the way that I've found that I like to do the detents. But if you look on Steve's, and I'm not going to get the light back out, but I'm just going to tell you, it's all the way seated. It's all the way in. And it's in so much that I can't change that part of it. It snaps good, it's good, but we're talking like, when you get to like these kind of tolerances, you're talking about like a couple thou changes the knife from being super snappy and a good detent like this to blown out, now you get detent lash. It's really, really, really fine-tuned at that point. And you're chasing holes, you don't have true PO, even if you sweep it in, like the true position to hold is like, it's a pain. It's so, at this point, I'm in a pickle. And this is exactly the way it was with the 02 as well. So So what do? You can't sell a knife that only finger flicks. Like I talked to Tomas about it. He's like, man, I'm not going to finger flick it. I don't really care. But I was like, I just don't want to put my name on that. That's like, you can only do this with this knife because the dude can't figure out how to make the detent work right. So it's super frustrating because I'm at a point now where I'm pretty much, this is what I usually do pre-heat treat. So if I screw this up pre-heat treat, I haven't done heat treat. I've just basically cut the blank of the knife. And I'm really not out as much time. Like I can restart and possibly save the blade for something else. But at this point, like it's a knife. I just got to do the detent. I got no way of fixing that. Like I'm no good way of fixing that. So I started with just chamfers on the side of the hole and try to see if that chamfer would open it up and make the ball go out a little easier. I tried diamond file and kind of rolling the shoulder over a little bit so the ball would kind of travel out a little easier. None of those really seemed to do anything. It just kind of, for lack of a better term, doesn't feel like it should. So what I ended up doing with Tomas's, and this is a number 02, and this one is going to be pretty much done. Like I said, I got to fine tune a few things, but I ended up doing a dual detent. Now with that dual detent, so this is the original detent. This is the one that's kind of sucking it in, and this one is just proud. So it's just a detent without a hole in the blade that keeps that ball from going in enough. It's a weird fix, but it worked. Like, I can't complain about it. Like, it did what it's supposed to. It definitely feels different, but it's not bad. It's just different. And as you can see on his now, maybe, let me see if I can get a light back out. By the way, thanks, Evan, for the light while we're talking about it. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. Let's put the light bar on the top so y'all can see. Maybe we can do it like I did last time. Can you see that little sliver? I mean, it's a barely little sliver. So it's barely sticking out, like barely sticking out. So it works. It works. So anyway, let me go. This is one of the highs. So let me show it to you. 02 is done. So what do y'all think? Acid Stonewash 3V into this blasted and tumble frame with the blasted hardware. Y'all remember they had the plug in there last week when I had blasted it. It turned that super. You see the ring there? The whole thing was that way, so I went ahead and went back through it with an M-mill and cut it. The other thing that's aggravating kind of sort of on a frame like this, and here's the pocket clip, I don't know if I've ever sewed it, so I got a little swoop on the bottom and then kind of straight, just kind of angle it a little bit. I don't like the whole detent track being as exposed as it is, so I might re-etch the blade. I might leave it. I may send it to Tomas and let him decide, but super happy with the grind. So you see I got a much taller front half. And then the second half is kind of like, you can see that the arching back in. So it's a real prominent point there on both sides. Super happy with how that grind came out. I love the look from this side coming here. Problem is you're trying to match. You see this grind comes all the way up to about here. I was originally going to swedge it, but there's not really enough material to do anything with, and it's going to make it thinner, not thicker. So I really like this side profile of the knife, which is what I had envisioned. The thing I don't like is, let me just do it this way. It's like, focus, man. I'm trying to get this thing to focus. Sorry, guys. That profile don't really work for me that well. It's thin, it's good, but I wish I could have done something different. So I'm not happy with that like spine looking down kind of profile of it. But that's about it. But this is not the tip that he wanted. He wanted a nice robust tip. So like, I feel kind of bad about it, but like even comparing, and I would consider this a stout tip comparatively. You know, for the first, I don't know, 100 thou, you're probably about the same thickness. It's just this is ground to a thinner level, and it's. I believe I did this. Did I do this with flat? I think I flat ground the. Yeah, I did. I flat ground the end of this one, and then this is a 10-inch hollow on this. Anyway, I'm being self-critical because what I did was I built this thing and I was like, I put the edge on it and everything like that, and I was like, I'm just gonna let it sit. I showed it to him Friday, I showed him where it was at, and I was like, it's almost done, man. We're getting really close. I went through the struggles of this one, but I think it's finally to a good point of view, or a good point where I can do it. And then I left it, and it's super snappy. You see how snappy this is. This is a 1/4-inch blade. Like, I don't know how many, like, you could probably see it on this one. Like, okay, you see how that, it's not slow, but it's not fast, right? It's just kind of that, because most heavy blades are like that way, like that real thing. But watch this. See how snappy that sucker is? So it's a super snappy 1/4-inch blade. You don't find a whole lot of those. And the other thing I want to do by grinding it, and if you haven't, go check out Ultimate EDC. He just did a video on the XM24. I actually reground that one for Brother Nunface. I don't know, it's probably been a year or so ago. And he just acquired it. And he was talking about how it feels different than his other 24s because it's removing weight, right? So the weight of the blade affects how the action goes. It's kind of why I moved away from reblades and moved away from regrinds and went to reblades, because then you can add that extra weight in there, which is kind of what I was doing on the other reblades that I've done. You add the extra weight and height and then still grind it as thin as you want to grind it, just to get the feel you want, the overall feel. So basically you want to keep the blade about the same weight, if not maybe slightly heavier, and then, you know, get the grind you want on top. That's kind of my theory on it anyhow. So I removed a lot of material by doing it this way, so that you see how high the front end is. Normally, if you're going to do a stout tip, it's going to be, you know, ½ inch or so. Here, blending into a bigger hollow grind here, and I probably would have done something like an 8-inch hollow grind and went up maybe like 3/4 of an inch or something. So this is, you know, almost an inch high here. I don't know what it is here. I'm just gonna guess like 1.125 inches, or something like that. So it's, you know, balance wise, the balance is pretty much right where that lock bar cutout is. It's pretty much right there with your balance. So I can't really hold it on camera and show you guys, but my bro Eonan's every knife that I showed him to, that's like the first thing he checks is like, where's the balance point? Like he does it almost every time, which I trip out on. I kind of like it. So let me see if I can do this so you can see it. I got to put my hand underneath it because I'm not dropping this one at this point, but you can kind of see exactly where the crest of this finger is. I guess just a little bit forward of that. And so pretty much right there where that stop pin is, right that area is pretty much the balance point, which is pretty much ideal for this one, because you essentially, the way that I've kind of sort of envisioned people using them, you got that back grip, you know, here, which it's, to me, like on this frame especially, is like, it's kind of like I was talking about my knees, that the little point kind of falls to an area where I need to choke back and get back here, or kind of squinch up and get up here. So like for me, this back position doesn't work as well. But when I get to that forward position, you can kind of see that everything kind of sort of makes sense at this point. Like I can get to this, and I can kind of choke up and get here, and everything kind of makes more sense for my size hands. So like they're essentially it's got two different grip positions. Smaller hand guys will probably appreciate the back position more than I would, and I'm thinking Tomas has big old mitts too. But that forward position is pretty much where it's at on this one. So anyway, 02 is done, and I'm super happy. Overall design, I'm super happy with, right? The fit and the feel of it. I was telling you guys, I put it down Friday, and I hadn't really touched it till this morning. I picked it up this morning, and I was like, mentally, I was kind of going in a negative spin about it didn't come out exactly the way I wanted because of the things I already mentioned. And I was kind of negative. I picked it up, and I flicked it one time. I'm like, oh, this thing's still pretty sick. So like, I'm pretty happy with this one, the way it came out. I just know that it's not. So that first of all, it wasn't exactly the grind that he wanted coming out of the gate. Now he's amenable. We're friends, dude. Like same with like Steve. Like we're friends before like customer, you know, company kind of relationship. Friends first. Like ultimately that's why I wanted to sell the first few to friends, because there's gonna be issues. There's gonna be things that I wanted to hear back from them. Like, hey, your heat treat sucks, or whatever the case may be. Broken hardware, like Tom did last week. Like we fixed it up, we sent it right back to him, but he still had the money for shipping. Like he still had to be without that knife, and he paid good money for it. So I feel bad about that. But with a friend, I can kind of lean on. If it was a customer, I'd be like, I didn't feel good about it. So that's my perspective, at least on that, is the friendship definitely comes before the customer company kind of relationship kind of thing. The one thing I was trying to do that I don't know that I don't guess I can do it this way. I kind of flip it. Anyway, if you can get traction on it, you can kind of sort of front flip it. I'm not really as good at that. And I did think about possibly next time maybe doing a little serrations here for a little bit of grip and maybe leaving that just a touch longer. I just don't know how many people that are into bruisers are into front flippers. It's something that I got into when I got, whose knife was that I got? I don't know. Who was it? I can't even remember. No. Anyway, I got someone's knife that they had designed. It was Chinese OEM. Oh, it was the Bearded Doom. That's what it was. When he did his, what's that knife called? I'm having a Ken Faulkner moment. Me and him share those, like, memory goes along camera kind of things. Anyway, whatever that knife was, that's how I learned front flipper. But anyway, this is a long 30-minute video. I got 02 finally done, so I'm super happy about that. I didn't start on JD's. I'll get started on that hopefully next week. I do have to do some work with the other company this week, covering some shifts and whatnot. So it might not be as much production, but I hope to get Steve's done. I might do something similar to that one that I did to Tomas's, where I just stick an extra detent hole in it, and basically, you know, it's to keep it from going as deep into the frame. I might see if that works, because like overall now, I wasn't happy with it at all on Friday, and then I did it and left it, and I come back today and I'm super happy with it. So I think it's one of those things like, you know, as a human, we tend to kind of do that. We can kind of sort of get in that mental space, and then you can't see the light out of the tunnel kind of thing. And then come back to it and you're like, there's the light right there, and kind of walk right to it. So like Wednesday was a super frustrating day. This is when I screwed up the detents on all the origins, trying to make them stiffer and better. And then Friday was super frustrating because I spent like, I don't know, 5-6 hours working on that in Cosi, ended up just completely destroying it and having to give Chris's money back. So like, that's how I ended that basically Friday night. That's how I ended Friday night. So like, I really had a negative vibe on both those 2 days. And then, you know, the good thing about removing yourself and having to do another job is you have time to kind of reflect on other things, like maybe in the background of your brain, not in the forethoughts. And I was kind of like, you know, I should be grateful. Like, I got super cool friends, super cool. I hate to call Chris a client, but like, you know, we'll just say it at this point, because we've had more dealings with, you know, clientele relationship than friend relationship, but that's probably going to change. And I know, you know, understanding that stuff like this can happen, understanding that I'm still new and that it's not like a easy process to just send it to somebody, get it done. My biggest thing in learning all these is that I have to go in a certain order of operations, regardless of what advice I get from other people that know more and have more experience than me. I have to do it that makes sense to me. So I am going to try on the next 2 or 3 to do it 100% the way I know I can do it right, and then work from there. If there's issues, it'll be caught ahead of time, not at this point of the game where I'm like stressed about it. And yeah, so highs and lows. Marco, you got you a knife. Send me information. Big Jim, thanks to trade, bro. We'll see how the Dixon goes. I'm super happy with the trade as far as the trade goes. Whether it stays and I don't convert it to like a CRK down the road, that may change. I know First hit me up about possibly doing a trade for the other one. So, you know, I may hit him up and go, hey, I got a Dixon. You want a 31 for a Dixon or whatever, you know, that may change. Right now, I'm going to hold on to it, make an assessment. You know, like it's too early. I've had 5 minutes with it, so I can't say that it's not for me or it is for me. Like always in those nights, I don't get why. Well, I do get why. It's the popular thing, but why not make a model that doesn't have the hollowed out titanium? Like it destroys the feel for me. Like the knife all hollowed out. I don't know. It's like trying to play electric guitar on a hollow body, like, or a chambered electric. It just ain't the same. At least for me, it never has been. Yeah. All right. Oh yeah. By the way, so if y'all didn't, the guitar reference that Steve put it in my head, bro. Like, so if y'all didn't know, I used to play in bands. I'm a guitar player, bass player for a number of years. I haven't played really since my late 20s. Here I'm early 50s. So it was a lifetime ago. But I have the money for the guitars that I liked then that I couldn't afford now. And I think Steve's pretty much the same way. Steve just got a badass Les Paul. Like, it's sick. And like when I played, Les Pauls and SGs were what always felt better to me. Not the fastest, not the, you know, whatever. Just Gibsons were always the thing for me. I mean, this is, you know, I quit playing in basically early 2000s, late 90s. So like, it's a lifetime ago. I know a lot of stuff's changed since then. But anyhow, shout out to Steve. If you ain't seen his video, go check his video out. Go watch his. Man, he's influencing me, man. Like, I don't need any more expensive hobbies. Like, honestly, money's tighter now than it ever has been, so I don't even need to think about it. But every time I see that Steve get his sick guitars, so something in the back of my head is like, you can pick up a guitar and start playing again. But yeah, but like, the reason I quit is because I couldn't play X amount of hours a day, and if I can't keep the skills up to that level, I just didn't want to do it. And I don't need to be entertaining it, but I'm still mentally, I don't know if it's jealous or intrigued, whatever it is. I'm going to call it there. 35 minutes of me just running my mouth. Hope I covered everything. Thanks again to everybody. You know, like, I talked to Chris, Tomas, and Steve also when I was at that negative level, and I've sent them videos of like me disappointingly showing progress and like, thanks for working with me, guys. Thanks for dealing with my crap. Sometimes I need the customer to lean on, I guess. Friend. It's not really a customer. Ultimately, it will be, but you know what I mean. Friend to lean on. All right, that'd be cool. I want to do one more thing because I've been meaning to do this and I've totally forgot. So y'all may or may not know that I caught the shop on fire a couple weeks ago. Grind some titanium. It kind of like, I'm in a shed, right? So like this, it's got like fake wood floor, the little, I call them lick 'em and stick 'ems, but they're like the, you know, tongue groove tape down kind of thing, lick 'em and stick 'ems. And it got between that and the wall and started burning like basically that joist runner or whatever you want to call it. I smelled it from inside, but it really, the fire was on the outside. I had posted a picture of me holding a knife kind of sort of above it. Some people got it, some people didn't. That the whole outside of the shed had caught on fire at the bottom there where the, you know, the titanium, when you grind it, shoots off a lot of the embers, or whatever you want to call them, that just stay hot for a long time. And it caught the side of the shed on fire. And I had to use one of my extinguishers. Luckily, I have one. Huge shout out for Denise, because she was like, here's $100 towards some more extinguishers. Go get you 2 and make sure you got some with you. So thank you, Denise. I got my extinguishers. I'm not going to break them out, but there's one in here and one out there. So now I got one pretty much wherever I am. It wouldn't help the situation any more than I already had. I had it covered, so I did have an extinguisher, so it wasn't like that dangerous, and it was right next to a fire or a hose anyhow. So it worked out. I smelt it in time, but man, I got to be careful. Like that was a pucker moment for me. But huge shout out to Denise. She just basically sent $100 for a fire extinguisher to keep me safe. So thank you, Denise. Appreciate you. And I've been meaning to mention that for the last 2 weeks, and it just always slips my mind when I sit down here Sunday morning, because I think I've already demonstrated that my mind's not right all the time, but if I'm ever right. All right, y'all be cool. See you next week. Later, y'all.